Okay, folks, it is Monday evening, and here's another session of 15 millimeter painting madness. I don't know about madness, but sounds good, but certainly not frantic paste or anything like that. We'll get around to finishing these guys when we get around to finishing these guys. Although it looks like I'm going to get them done in time. Oh, let's not brag. Looks like it. For now. Move this over here, move this over here. Table can be a little closer. All right, let's see who joins us in today. All right. I've been painting some off camera to kind of plug the way forward. So the problem I'm having, it's not really a problem, but I haven't decided yet what kind of shields I'm going to do on the command stand, which is what these guys are. So I'm just kind of ignoring that. So I'm painting everything that I can because that isn't that. So like for instance, we're going to go ahead and paint this big old long lance. And of course I put all the paint, all the stuff away. Buff. So I can either cogitate about what color to paint it, or go ahead and paint what I know isn't going to change, and that way I can, narrow down what it is that I'm interested in doing to them. Oh, we could lose this. We're not painting that shield pattern anymore. I need to get with my producer. He needs to get on the ball. Needs to get on the ball. Somebody had asked me why I had not used Little Big Man Studios decals for these guys, and well, it's a mix of manufacturers. I can't just Little Big Man Studios decals don't work for everything. They're specifically made for certain castings. So they're specifically made for an Old Glory or a Zyston, or if they're a water slide, I bet you could probably use them for other stuff, but they are not water slide. I would like them more, actually, if they were. They'd be a little bit more forgiving. So. And there we go. Because honestly, they're pretty scary to use. And I'm really just not scared of. I wasn't really prepared to be scared or apprehensive about something I'm going to start with this painting. I mean, I've been painting for a long time. So I'm not expecting any kind of challenges like that. I think we're going to have to go make us some coffee. I'm going to go do that right now. Nobody's on here anyways, or Kevin might be on here, and he's just Kevin the Ninja. Oh, 2 viewers. Okay, folks, I will be right back. You got some 15mm Roman cavalry to paint soon. Any tips? Looks like you paint yours assembled. I prefer to paint assembled. I can reach anything that I can see, and I don't want to paint something and then have nowhere to grab it from. The Australian contingent. Welcome. I actually had an email from somebody in Australia, and they said that they were probably going to make it to Historicon. Could they go to one of our tournaments? And I'm like, yeah, just walk up, show up 10 minutes early, and we'll be glad to have you. So there's a gentleman from Sydney. He said he was going to make it. Absolutely. We don't just show up, Just show up, and we'll be glad to have you. Yeah, so as far as painting, I glue everything together because I don't want to paint and then have to scrape off something to where the glue point is, or maybe the glue ruins what I've done. I've just always glue everything on there that I can. The only time I don't do that is like a chariot, and because you need to build it in certain parts to assemble them later. But cavalry, absolutely, every time, even with shields and everything. If they have separate shields, I glue them on there. But I'm pretty experienced and I can handle it. Some people prefer to do it a different way, and if you do it a way you're comfortable with, I would continue doing it that way. I just like if you don't base in black, do whatever you're comfortable with. I'm not basing in white though. Doesn't work for me. Hey, we're just hanging out, and maybe I'll see something that maybe I'll show you something that you're like, oh, I never thought about that. Because we all experience things and the people that you're around. And like a couple guys came from Australia that I never met them before, but they came to Historicon in 2009, and they got to play with people in a different continent, and they played. They were not aware of some things, and so it surprised them, and they said, "Oh, we want to take that back to the folks in Australia and surprise them with it." So. Yeah, the Celt chariots definitely need to be painted with the wheels and horses off. So I glue the wheels on the body, so I have the chariot by itself. And then what I tend to do is I'll super glue the chariot by itself to, I say super glue because that's what I use to attach things temporarily. I'll attach it to something like this so I can grab it and move it around. And I'll base, the horses separately, like these. Paint them individually, and paint this individually, and the crew individually as well. And I'll seal everything separate like that. and then I'll pop the horses off and pop this off and kind of assemble them to see how it's going to fit on the stand, and then put little marks with pencil where the things are going to fall, and to make sure that I've got the chariot wheels in the correct place. And then I'll glue the two horses down. So the horses will be down on a stand with nothing else on it. And then I will put my, so the horses are up here and all this space in the back is empty. And I will put the basing material around it, leaving spots for where the little wheels will end up fitting on there. And then paint everything, because it'd be impossible to paint your base material with the chariot already assembled there. It'd be impossible to do a good job with it. So then I've got a base here where the horse is completely done, and two little spots of this barren material where I'm going to attach the wheels down to it, and then I go and attach it and all the spots with epoxy, and then I'll have a tiny little bit showing, and then I put a tiny little bit of the base material, seal that in, and then just paint a little thing to finish. So it is a 7-step process or something like that, but I've done a handful of chariots now, and that works for me. I'll be right back. Let me go get some coffee and to wind me up, and I'll be right back. Sydney used to have two very active clubs back in my day, the Spartans and the Cumberland Society. I hope they're still going down now. Two clubs. I was talking to somebody several months ago about Australia, and my perception of it is so wrong, population-wise. I think the most population in Australia, there's less people in Australia than in Florida or something like that. It's something ridiculous. I was like, how could that be possible? Because isn't like Sydney like 4 million, but it isn't. I thought Sydney was a lot bigger than it was. Two clubs, huh? 2 historical clubs. I don't know anybody in town who plays historical miniatures other than us. And we're about 150,000, but you know, there's Warhammer players and role players and board gamers and stuff like that. And I'm not opposed to playing board games, but I like playing things that involve conflict because, you know, I'm a devout pacifist every day. So when I'm not, when I'm pretending I want to be a conqueror and, you know, pillaging things, you know, I don't want to just be like, you know, moving meeples around. But this time next week, hopefully, I'm going to say hopefully because the last 3 years in particular, everything is just, you know, my mantra has almost been don't make any fucking plans because they can change on you in a moment. But this time next week, I should be packing to go on our long trip for Historicon. We'll leave on Tuesday and get back on Sunday. So it is 14 and a half to 15 hours one way. But we will be talking about all kinds of wargaming stuff along the way. And hopefully making some historical scenarios too. I'm looking forward to it. But still not excited about it because it's just too many pitfalls could happen. So I'm looking forward to painting a different army. And that's not to say that I don't like how these guys are turning out. As a matter of fact, the issue I'm running into now, I don't know if I wouldn't call it an issue. That's misrepresenting it. Everything I paint, it seems like I like better than the previous thing I painted. So I'm very motivated, and playing video games and stuff like that, even historical video games, just don't, you know, I don't have a very high tolerance for it anymore. I could spend 30 minutes doing it and then I've had enough. And I want to go back to doing this. I could spend a long time doing this, but, you know, I want to interact with people that have my interest. Same interest, not just a computer that doesn't care, you know. Hooray, political ad time on YouTube again. Uh-oh, what's that mean? You guys getting a lot of ads, and now they're political ads. I'm guessing that's what that means. I think political ads should be illegal. Just, why listen to do you want to vote for the liar that you like or the liar that you don't like? Politics on this time of year? It's just July. Well, I guess in November there's stuff. Hello, Skylab. You call them pumas or mountain lions where you're at, Skylab? I don't know if you were on one time I told you that I saw one here. We have them here in Florida, supposedly. They're endangered, they're very elusive, and I'm sure they're not as large as the ones that you have out west. But I saw one at night. It had to be one. It was big, you know, wasn't a house cat, and it moved like a cat. What else could it be, you know? And it was black, too, or extremely dark. It was like 9 o'clock at night. This is why I'd block everything, only to see them if I'm on a tablet. About 100 degrees here today, but not humid. It's been raining all day today, which means the temperature is not so bad. But this weekend I spent about 3 hours outside doing yard work, and I got a little dehydrated, even though I was drinking fluids the whole time. I had a nagging headache that, it went away on its own. It wasn't too bad. I don't like a headache for any reason, but it's got to be done. I don't enjoy yard work. I just don't enjoy paying somebody the kind of money that they shouldn't be getting to do that kind of stuff. So I'd just rather do it myself, We call them cougars, okay, but some people stupidly call them kitty. No, we got them out here in Washington. I've seen tracks, and my folks have seen them by their house. Well, it was definitely Washington weather today because it was raining just about all day long. I probably would like the weather out there on the Pacific coast, but I like sunshine. Which is why the winter here is awesome, because the winters here are never dreary. We never have like a New England gray winter. It's always sunny. Not a cloud in the sky, crisp, So what I was saying earlier before anybody was on is I'm playing this kind of hopping around thing because I haven't decided what the scheme is going to be for the command stand, like what the shield is going to be. The commander is going to have a unique shield, so instead of spending a stupid amount of time on doing that, I'm hopping around and painting the things that I know are going to be certain colors. Like we know that the edge of this guy's thing is going to be metal. We know we're going to paint his helmet metallic, This is not how I would normally do it. I would used to figure stuff out all the way around and wouldn't touch anything until I knew how everything was going to fall into place. But that's a lot of downtime. And it's not like I'm going to change my mind on what color his helmet is going to be. Okay. Local police in my town had to put down a cougar about 3 weeks ago. It was raiding chicken coops and pets. Foxes live in the middle of my town, 10 degrees Celsius on a winter's morning. I've been looking at this game called Don't Look Back by Black Site Studios. Pretty tempting. It's a skirmish game based on 80s horror tropes. The models are pretty good too. Huh. The skies in Wisconsin are gray 75% of the time. It gets depressing. Oh, you said WA. Oh, sorry. Different person. So we got Washington, we got Wisconsin. Yeah, I can't handle the gray. I guess you get used to it, but I can't handle the gray, don't you know? You betcha. I always like when people try to figure out what my accent is because I'm a morpher. So if I'm around the wrong people, I sound like them. So, and I think that that's normal for me. I don't understand how people can come from a state in particular, and they've left their state for 40 years and still sound like they're from that state. I don't understand that. And that's nobody I game with. It's an old dude I used to work with. He's not around anymore, thank goodness. But he was some grumpy ass bastard from New York State, and he always sounded like that, always. And never lost his accent, even though he'd been here 40 years or something like that. Give him a pink helmet. So one of the, no, he's not protesting right now. He doesn't need a pink helmet. There's one of the, I read one time, one of the Middle Eastern things, and it might have been the Persians or something like that. Pink was like a color of badassery. You know, it was like manly to wear pink. To which I'd say, I'd paint a guy pink, but I'm not giving him pink pants. That's just way over the top, you know? Because pink pants will probably end up having white shoes, you know what I mean? And then it just kind of just a spiral into, you know, all kinds of stuff that doesn't go together. Give him a pink helmet. I will do, you know what? I'm going to do a Mameluke when I get to the Mamelukes, and we'll paint one of their helmets pink. You can pretty much do anything. You just have to be careful how you do it. You get decent summers here in Washington, and half the year is gray. I don't mind it, but it gets to some folks. I can't imagine living in another state, and I hate the weather here. I hate that. It's just too hot. It's just too hot. I don't mind that we don't have to shovel after, well, we do have to shovel after Mother Nature. It's called bugs. But I can't imagine living in another state. It's just psychological. So. And the humidity isn't really a problem because I like our summers. I mean, I like our winters. They're cold and wet. And I've been to Colorado and Utah in 18-degree weather, which I know it gets a lot colder there, but it gets 18 degrees here. Not many days, unfortunately, but it does get to be 18 degrees. And the 18 degrees here is a lot colder than the 18 degrees there. It's that the wetness will penetrate you and it'll be cold as shit. It just means you got to move around. You want to be outside, you know, walking around or hiking or, you know, doing stuff. You don't want to be indoor where the sissies have the damn heater on. Well, not here. We don't run the heater. That's bad for your health anyways. And costs money. Double whammy. Give him a pink helmet. Well, that's why I used a pink dye for so many years. I'm like, man, it'd be nice to kick somebody's ass with a pink dye. And it is. It got old, you know. I think that's all we got on there. What we got here? I have several Space Marine Army. A small Space Marine Army is pink. I decorated their bases with Army Painter's meadow flowers. They turn heads for sure. You can testify to that Florida humidity. Yeah, that's actually one thing that I like. I couldn't get used to. I went to Colorado a couple of years ago, and you have to drink. Or I had to. Maybe you guys didn't that lived there. But I had to drink a 24-ounce thing of water every hour. Just as a medication. Or I was going to get a splitting headache. I don't want to live. I don't want to live there. I don't want to. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. But it's like another planet for us. It's like, what's this mountain thing, you know? It's just really weird. But it's, you know, it's captivating. A local guy here in Utah painted his Space Marines white with black splotches, called them Space Marines. Oh man, is he fun to play with, or is he just a contrarian? Space Marines. Mississippi. Mississippi's hotter than here. Mississippi's absolutely hotter than here. There's no breeze. Well, there's no breeze here either, but at least I can get to a beach. You can get to a beach in Mississippi too. It's a mud flat. Yeah, I wouldn't want to live in Mississippi. Actually, the place that I thought was pretty nice that we traveled through was Tennessee. Although I think it's really funny because they consider themselves the South. Maybe in attitude, but not in longitude. Latitude. Not in latitude. Not longitude. Latitude. That's way too far away from salt water for me. Fairly clever player, but loved puns to the extreme. Would he be allowed at a sanctioned tournament painting them like that, or do you have to paint them like a chapter? Is that the correct terminology for the Marines? Chapters? I've never played 40K. It's one of those games to an outsider that seems like Battletech in that it's way off in the future, but the range that things shoot at is significantly shorter than things do now. So, it's probably even worse than Battletech from that standpoint. You know, every weapon goes out to like pistol range, seems like. I did paint some though. I saw an article in a White Dwarf magazine, I'm sure, about some Imperial Guard and painted some in the late 80s, I want to say. I want to say like 89 or 90. I painted some, and they were all white metal. That was back when they were Citadel. They weren't Games Workshop. And I finally stopped calling things Citadel. It took me a long time. Well, my paints are still Citadel, right? But these are Citadel color. Yeah, Citadel color. Kicking it old school. I still use, some of those are still alive. And, yeah, I paid a unit of 10 Imperial Guard guys. They don't look very good, you know. I'd probably be embarrassed to. Probably should have kept them around just so I could, you know, see, hey, this is how I used to paint. You know, but they were actually one of the first things I sold on. God, I want to say I sold them on eBay. A long time ago, like over 20 years ago. I think eBay's where I sold them. Sold all my Battletech stuff too. Needed Mitch to do a brief guest appearance on your painting stream. He could sit at the background and laugh at his own jokes. Nah, he's babysitting. He has weird schedules. You know, I basically work normal schedules. I'm a Monday through Friday person, and he works like everybody that, you know, he's got Monday and Tuesday off. So we're getting together. Is Fanaticus an active site? Ish. It's not like it used to be. I think Facebook is a lot better than Fanaticus. The problem with Fanaticus now is a lot of people don't go to it. Like Mitch doesn't know how to get to the place. Most players don't go to it, and you can't share pictures. You have to go to like a hosting site and jump through a flaming hoop to put a picture of something. So you know, they still have Citadel branding on the paints, but they're hideously expensive compared to Vallejo or Reaper. I bought Reaper one time and I thought they were too wet. Let's see. Yep, Citadel. Okay. Nobody has Reaper here. Vallejo only have them at Hobby Lobby. I only have a plethora of Vallejo because back when I was when I found out about them, I liked the fact that they were the droppers. And I sold all these things I was telling you about. And I'm like, well, I'm just not going to take the money and run. I'll just invest it back in the hobby. So I bought paints with it. Which, you know what, was the right thing to do. because I'm not going to sit there and buy, 40 bottles of paint at once. And that's kind of what I did. And at the time, they were the only ones that had the eyedroppers. And I like the eyedroppers because of, just being able to put one drop out there. But to be honest with you, I like these paints the best. Coat the arms. But nobody in the U.S. that I know of can I walk up to them and get them. And I don't want to mail order colors, so I've got 6 or 7. Now, their bottle designs are fine, but you can tell, look, their lids are not working so well. They break off. This little hinge that's there doesn't last very long, and it gets crud accumulated on it. So, they're not ideal, but the actual paint itself is, I think, the best stuff out there. It's the best paint. It flows the smoothest. It blends really well. I really like it. And I don't know where the hell I got these, to be honest with you. Because like I said, you can't just go and get them at a store. It may have been the store in Tampa that we used to frequent in the late 90s. Where I picked them up. So, it's definitely my favorite one. I think I'm going to, at Historicon, one of the vendors has foundry paints. I may pick up a set of 3, probably browns, something I can use with something else. And just see how they work. But I think they're pretty expensive. I think they're like $16 for 3 of them. It might even be $20 for 3 of them. And I'll pick up a Winsor & Newton number 7 that everybody raves about, and I bet I won't like it. I bet it's not worth $20 for one brush. We'll see. We'll do an unboxing on that. Okay, I think it's time to paint this guy's fleshy bits. Yeah, Mitch is no good to have here on a program. He doesn't know shit about painting and doesn't care, and, it's just not his thing, But that's okay. You like Reaper because of how it thins and how smooth it goes on, but paint is extremely individual. AK's 3rd gen perform similarly. I don't know anybody who can get the AKs either. I don't want to mail. I would mail order paint if I was like replacing a color. Like if I ran out of this buff and I could mail order it from somewhere. Well, I know what buff looks like. But if I'm just like, let me take a look at these other colors. Whatever you find out on the computer, you're not going to get the right color represented on there. So you end up ordering A and you end up getting a different looking color. It'd be frustrating. You only use Raphael 8404s and Winsor Newton 7s now. Can't stand any other brush. Never heard of Raphael 8404s. The problem with other brushes is just the tip. The tip that goes 90 degrees. And I can get all the crud off of the brush, but once that tip starts going, there's nothing saving it. And it's just, it's just the price of doing business. It doesn't happen immediately. It happens after, using it for a little bit, and I've just kind of accepted that that's just what it's going to be, But a $20 brush better be freaking good, or I'm going to call those sons of bitches out on it. But people that don't know a lot about painting, what they'll say is, what size brush do you use? And if you're painting for a while, the size of brush doesn't matter. It's the tip that it has on it. Because you'll go through and like, okay, this 1 brush or a 0 brush will have a better tip than a 3/0 or a 5/0. Green Stuff Color Shift paints are badass. Huh. El Doctor Munoz, welcome. You primarily use Game Workshop paints, mostly because I know them and can get them conveniently local. Better the devil you know. Yeah. Using Master Brush Soap helps immensely with that if you don't have it. What is it that I have? Well, hold on. Let me put on my glasses so I can see what I have. That's what I use to clean it. Yeah, it works great, but you can't reshape it, you know. So you stick to Vallejo because I could buy them Newcastle. Yeah, I stick to them because I have a plethora of them. But we'll try those foundry. How about those foundry paints? You like them? You guys out there in the old country like the foundry paints? It's hard to find them here. Oh, the bottom of it fell off. Cool. This smells nice. It's always nice that things smell nicely. Like I put some models together last year that I already had. I've still got 20 millimeter models, 172nd scale, 176 scale models. And I used the model glue that melts the pieces. And I had been so long since I used it, probably 15 years since I put something together using that glue. And, you know, I paint, and all of these paints that we use have basically no smell to them at all. I mean, nothing. There's nothing there. And if they had any kind of a smell, like the Coat d'Arms have a tiny little bit of a smell, and actually smells good. It was very unusual to open up something like this, the Tamaya, and it smells so freaking strong. You know, that it's weird working on your hobby with things that have a strong smell. I've gotten out of the habit of that. But I'm also not used to, when I go and buy spray stuff, I have to call a manager because, you know, I guess kids get high on this stuff. I mean, just give the kid a beer, man. It's freaking poison. Why would you be huffing shit? I mean, I don't get that. Just give the kid a beer. Getting high off paint fumes, man. I never did that in my life. Wouldn't even occur to me. It's like, it smells like poison. Why would I want to smell it? Had to open a window using that yesterday. It was getting too strong. That stuff is, you know, gives you a headache. I don't think you could get, I guess you can. You got to be all up in it to get, that's poison, man. There's some strange folks out there. I've heard of some people. Actually, I know one guy that admits that he likes the smell of fuel, like gasoline. Like, what? You know? No. We grew up when we had those markers. Remember those markers you'd have in school and they'd have a smell to them? And they all like smelled really good for a second. And then the next thing you know, it was like freaking poison, you know? Poison mixed with, you know, orange or whatever. People will get high of anything. I've seen street kids shoplift whipped cream cans to huff the propellant. Man, just give them a beer. I guess just not the people I hung around with. I wasn't cool like that. I didn't hang around people that got high on things. You know, as I like to say, everything I've ever learned about everything I know about drugs, I learned from watching the 3 seasons of Narcos Mexico. I guess you huff stuff if you don't have any Tide Pods to eat. Exactly. That doesn't make any sense. It's fucking soap, folks. Okay, so this. I guess you could get high off this, right? But wouldn't you have like the headache from hell before you ever got high on it? And I'd rather have anything than a headache. Explosive diarrhea. I'd rather have explosive diarrhea than a headache. I do not do well with a headache. Maybe not explosive diarrhea in public. Maybe not that one. Yeah. Well, I grew up in a really strict household except for alcohol. And I mean, it's not like I had a beer at any time, but if my parents were having a drink, they were like, "Hey, you want a sip?" And I'm like, "Okay." And it just like I never drink now. It's not, it's a shame because I become a better person when I drink, but people like me more. I'm a hugger. We have a ton of homeless here because of the mild climate. I've had to learn a bit about what drugs to know what not to touch walking past alleys. Too many needles everywhere. You're where, in Washington? Yeah. Our town's too small to have too many alleys. We have quite a bit of homeless people here, and I guess the cops can't do anything about it. Well, I'll tell you what the solution is. If you want to get rid of them, well, you're not going to get rid of them, but you can't do anything to them. But if you catch somebody giving them money, give them like a $4,000 fine or something like that. Western Washington, okay. I don't really pay attention to the news or anything, but they haven't had any more protests out there, have they? We don't put up with those in Florida. They started doing one of those whenever they were popular a couple of years ago in Miami Beach, and they put a stop to that. People were dancing on police cars, and they tried that once. And then it was game over. Dancing on police cars and tipping things over. And our cops weren't like, "Oh, they're just going through a phase." But I don't pay attention to the news, so the news has no power over me. For instance, never touch an abandoned propane tank. I'm scared of propane tanks, to be honest with you. I remember I was outside a grocery store one time and I dropped my wife off and I was just going to wait there kind of in the fire lane, but way out of the way. Not in front of the doors and stuff because she was just wanting to run and get something. I just stayed in the car. And this guy comes and you've got at least here, they've got the propane tanks next to the doors. And they're supposedly safe, okay? Like they've got some kind of a valve or something like that. Supposedly they can't build up pressure, but you know how many people you know how much damage I've done in video games by blowing up propane tanks? A lot, okay? So it's like ingrained in me. And this guy's like smoking a cigarette and he's walking right in front of the propane tanks, just going. I backed the car up like 200 feet. I'm like, screw that. I'm not going to die this way. I'm scared of those things. I'm not scared of everything. I'm just scared of certain things. I may not control that I'm going to have to die one day, but I feel like I have control over how I'm not going to die. I don't want to die in a propane explosion where I could have just avoided it. It's just like, hey, don't stand next to the propane tanks and they can't get you. So, doesn't California give money and tends to live into the homeless? It's sad what's become of San Francisco, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, ruined. Yeah. Yeah, it sure seems that way. But I don't belong in a big city like that. There's just too many folks that can be trouble. No, thank you. Just the earthquakes alone. The earthquakes and my hobby of, like, you know, my things getting destroyed is a bad combination. Like, no, I'll deal with the hurricanes. I fortunately live at a place in Florida where they're not an issue. But if they are, we'll just take them with us wherever we go. We'll abandon and we'll take the armies because I don't have thousands of hours to replace them with. But big cities are all trouble, including the ones in Florida here. I wouldn't want to live in any of them. I don't want to live in a podunk town either. All right. Time to paint the white of his eyes. And I'm wondering if this is the one for it. Let's see what we can do with it. I don't think so. I don't think this is the one for it. It used to be, and then it went sideways. So, let's get us a new candidate. We got lots to choose from. We got lots to choose from. And the only reason I'm painting the eyes is this silly sculptor decided to put them on the figure. And they're kind of bulging out. All they are is just put two little dots on there. And then all I'm going to do is run a black line smaller than the white over them vertically. Hot damn! I need to quit my day job. I keep saying that. Richard Cundiff. That would be Rick. Why can't you just go by Rick? Have a hat. I don't know what that means. English, do you speak it? Look what you typed. Let's see if I can zoom in on this guy's face. We're going to have to get really close in here. But I don't have a thing for painting. I didn't. It was from Amazon. It might be, though. I like it. They should have stuck with the... They should have stuck with the roundel symbol. Look at that. Not too bad. Yeah, I've always liked the early World War II symbol. Spell check. In a hat, yes. Well, I showered. So there's no point in putting shit in my hair after I just showered. That's basically... So I don't mind wearing hats, but it's usually at home after my head's clean. Like, I'll never wear one. Like, I won't just, like, throw one on in the middle of the day, because then you just get nasty. And let's minimize this. And unless I'm, going to the beach or something like that. I'll wear a hat at the beach. I gotta wear one at work, unfortunately, but it's a hard hat. So I'm always hot all the time, so a hat usually doesn't work for me. So unless I'm at the range, and I don't mean the golf range. If I'm at the range, or I'm at the beach, or I'm indoors, is usually the only time I'll wear a hat, because I'll usually get hot and stuff from it. And if I wear a hat, I never take it off, because then you take your head off, it's like so. Well, yeah, I like ordering things from Amazon because of their return policy. And you can't get things at stores anymore. It's a catch-22. People don't go to stores, so they don't carry things at stores. So then you want to go to the store and they don't carry anything. And then you can't ask anybody that works at the store there because they can't be bothered from surfing on their phone to help you. They don't realize that, if you help people and it makes your day go by quick, that's ultimately what you want. Is you want to go to your job and you want your day to go by like that so you can go back and do what you really want to do. But if you're just putzing around, your day, freaking an 8-hour day feels like a 14-hour day. So why don't you get off your ass and help people? I've worked retail before. Retail isn't, as long as you can pay your bills. I don't think retail is a bad job. I think working at a food place is a bad job, but I've worked retail before. The worst thing about retail is dealing with people that don't have to deal with people, and they're just random dickheads that show up. Spell check. Gotta wear a hat outside here or get brain fried. Yeah, that's why I wear it at the beach, because you've got to get some of that radiation out. Even though it's hot, you got to get having the radiation on your brain. Yeah, you get brain fried. You'll get too much radiation. So I don't mind wearing it at the beach because you're in and out of the water and you just get it wet and it cools you down and stuff like that. But I don't throw any. I have certain ones that go there. I like to take care of things, so I don't like to just just wear it out. Like I've got one that I've used at the beach. I got it in. I really liked it. It just has an American flag on it, but it's kind of stylized, so it almost looks like a Puerto Rican flag, kind of. It's got less stripes in it and so forth. And I love the hat, but it's black with a little American flag on it, and it's just got sun faded. It looks good when it's wet, but when it's not wet, it looks, it looks really sad. So, but it's gotten used a lot, Gotta wear a hat outside. Sounds like Florida sucks. I think the weather sucks, but we don't ever have to shovel it. I can't imagine living somewhere else other than Florida. I can't imagine living somewhere else that's not Florida. Maybe it's just psychological. I like the idea of Florida, but and I don't mind the humidity. I just don't like the. I don't like the heat because I work in and out of it. But you know what's worse than the heat? The bugs. The bugs is worse than the heat. And actually worse than the heat is those nights. Luckily they don't happen that often, but they do happen enough that when they show up, it's just dreadful. 85 degrees at night and like 90% humidity. It's like you're in Mother Nature's crotch. And I don't mean that in a good way. But our winters are spectacular. Not that I hate winter. I don't want to shovel anything. So you guys have to shovel snow. You can have that. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I just don't need to. I don't rake, and I'm not shoveling anything. I had a bad childhood experience raking 130 leaf bags just in one shot. I'm not raking it again. But I wouldn't be able to deal with the dryness. I could live at a place like, say, Tennessee if it was closer to the ocean. You know, I like the South. I just don't like how freaking hot it is. And there needs to be enough development. I don't want to live in some places just like hillbillies galore, you know? I'm a big fan of suburbia. And it's what I'm used to, so that's probably why I like it. That's I hear you have a lot of critters from other places. Not where I'm at. Is the army that I'm painting going to Historicon? I hope so. But I'm not that excited to paint them, believe it or not. I'm excited to paint them. The more I play, the less interested I am in playing. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's just an excuse. Playing is just an excuse to get other things painting. I would rather paint and not play than play and not paint. But the way I look at it, anybody can play a game. It doesn't matter if they're good at it. Anybody can play a game, but only a few of us are inclined to paint or have done it enough to, get better at it and not quit or what have you. So that's what I enjoy. I enjoy figuring out what figures I'm going to buy, how I'm going to paint them, which guys are going to be on what stand, what my interpretation of what they may have looked like is. Rick, how's retirement going? It's got to be great. I can't wait. I can't wait till I get my turn. If I ever get there, it'd be a crime if I don't get to retire. With as much things as I got that I could be doing, I'd do the same thing. I'd freaking be on the show all day long, Interact with folks. Socialize in the hobby. That's what I like. I like to socialize in this stuff. I can't talk about this shit with anybody else. Do you not live near swampland? No. No. We are an hour and a half north of Orlando, in the middle of the state. So, no, that's just the bottom part of the state. No, swampland would suck. Who'd want to live there? That's like living in Louisiana. I wouldn't want to live in Louisiana. There's probably places that are probably okay, but my perception of what it's like, I'm like, it's probably the same thing you're going through. Why would you want to live in Florida? Well, Florida just has swamp temperatures, but it's not all a swamp. Not even close. But I mean, where Rick lives in a beautiful place. Down in St. Petersburg, it's freaking gorgeous down there. Beaches are like prime. Problem is there's a lot of traffic. A lot of traffic. And if a hurricane even comes close to where you're at and you're in one of those border places, it's like freaking Civil War. Get out of my, That's why I wouldn't want to live down there. Hurricane comes here and we're like, whatever. By the time it gets to us, it's slowed down so much in speed. As long as we don't have trees around us that are going to fall, we're pretty much don't have to worry about it. Where we're at. I mean, we're literally the best location for that. Or at least it's been the best location since I've lived here. So what, since 81? We're landlocked. Well, the advantage of being landlocked is you don't have to worry about that. Getting ready to try to paint again. This whole time and you haven't painted? Oh, you've got like your hand, but hopefully it's not your right hand. Yeah, you got some tendonitis or something like that, I think, going on. So later Crusaders would be first. That's a good army. Good army. Okay, so what else do we have on this guy that we can determine that we're not going to change our mind on what it looks like? Because we're done with his face. We got saddle, pants. Obviously, whatever we're going to have for the shirt. I haven't decided. That depends on what I'm going to do with the shield. Let's just move on to the next guy. This is a standard guy. This is probably the wise way of doing it, so I keep moving. This is an armored horse. The general's going to be on a white horse, even though you're not going to be able to see most of it. It's just the legs. It's just the legs. Let's go ahead and paint the chainmail on both of these guys. Quite a few of the guys in my club usually buy painted armies, get them commission painted. I enjoy painting personally. Knocked out a 100-year war English army for Art de la Guerre recently in about 7 weeks. That's pretty fast. Yes, right hand, I'm going to have to adapt. Oh, man. Nordic, there it is. Where have you been? There's a whole crowd here, and Rick isn't one of them unless he's in the corner, hiding like ninja. I'm painting faster, but the only way I'm going to paint faster, spit out more often, spit armies out more often, is paint more often. I've seen videos of people that I would be happy with the results that I did. That if I painted to their level, I would be happy with the results, and they paint just as slow as I do. So I'm not going to be satisfied cutting corners. Best thing I can just do is just paint every day or every other day, or, just keep plugging along, not get pulled off into other projects. Tell everybody what I'm working on, and then hold your feet to the fire, And I'm not sure who this guy's going to be. In other words, I'm not sure if he's a general, if he's going to be the emperor in combat position. I'm not sure who he's going to be. So I haven't determined that either. I know that the other guy's definitely the emperor. But that's a command post, and he's the only mounted guy there. But I think this guy is just going to be a general. I don't think we're going to get a whole bunch of purple and shit on this guy. We may give him a helmet that's a little flashier, but not pink. He's not that kind of general. You're making dinner. I have neuropathy moving into my hands, making it harder to paint. Because lurking, I am fortunate that I can paint very fast and to a high standard. Yes, but you have to make your own dinner. That's your downfall. And I said this before, I haven't lived alone in 20 years. But when I did, I lived alone for 11. And I never cooked. And I never went hungry. I just assemble things. So, and the thing is I don't think I would enjoy cooking because of how long it would take. But I think I could get good at it. Because it's kind of like, it's kind of artsy. Or it could be. And I do enjoy all those flavors and combinations and stuff like that. I like to eat things that are busy, not just like meat, potato, So I appreciate all those different flavors. I just don't think it's worth my time to spend however long it does to cook and then clean up too. And I eat really fast, so it's just not time efficient. So I'm gonna take forever doing this, but some of this comes out of my cooking time that I would normally do. So just like I said, oh, I don't have the patience to paint that. I think people have patience for what they want to have patience for. I don't see how people have the patience to sit there and watch a football game for 4.5 hours when you're doing nothing. You're not contributing to it at all. So people have patience for that. They don't have patience for this. But this is therapeutic. This is, when I'm done painting, I feel better than when I started. So, it's a therapy session. If it was torturous, yeah, I wouldn't do it. You made good lasagna last night. Ah, good time for a nap after that. What's this little icon down here do? Sign in chat. I shouldn't have to sign in. It's me. I guess I can't do it. I can't do that. Yeah, I don't even type shit. There's just a little icon down here. You can't stand watching television and not be doing something else as well. I can't watch TV and do something else because I feel like there's something I'm missing, so I just don't watch it. I can't watch TV and not watch the TV. I can't have it off in the background, but that's just, what I'm used to. And I'm probably the exception. Most people are not that way. But then I have trouble hearing, so I'm always watching stuff with subtitles. So it's kind of difficult to watch something with subtitles and not watch the television, if you know what I'm saying. So that's not necessarily a good combination. But I don't like TV. The only time I watch TV is if there's some show that everybody's watching, like when Games of Thrones, everybody's watching Game of Thrones. And, and I was like, oh, I'll watch it too. I'll have something to talk to about most of the people. I don't know that I'm going to watch it again when it comes, they're releasing it, whatever. And I heard they're making another thing with Jon Snow. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, he's one of the characters I like the least. So, I'm not going to watch it because of that. That is the good thing about that show is there were so many characters. If you hated all of them, if you hated half of them, there were still 30 of them you liked, because there was that many different characters. But I don't think I'm gonna, I don't think I'm gonna watch. I mean, I'm kind of giving up on TV lately. I tried watching a Marvel movie the other day with my daughter, and it was just it was more messed up than a soup sandwich. I'm like, I'm not watching them anymore. They're too complicated. They're just not my cup of tea. They're all over the place. Like anything goes. Multitask very easily. Don't like television either. Would rather listen to music or have a good nature, science, or history documentary over television. Yeah. So I'm probably not going to watch another Marvel thing. And by Marvel thing, I mean DC as well. Only reason I watched them to begin with is because she was into them. Probably for the same reason that other people were into them, because lots of people watch them, so you got something to talk to about other people, but they just take up too much time. And hey, did you see that one Easter egg that tied one episode? No, I didn't catch it. I'm not rewatching things 3 times. Ain't nobody got time for this. Only comic book superhero watches Batman. Did you see the new one? You can't stand Marvel, not into the superpowers of Marvel and such. Did you see the new Batman? I didn't. I couldn't stand that guy. I'm like, you casting him? Screw it. Nope, not watching it. Batman was okay. The first Punisher, the one that came out in 2005 with Thomas Jane, I like that one. Not really a superhero though, you know. You also watch Arrow because it was entertaining at least. It was horrible. I was watching that with my daughter when she was real little because she couldn't watch anything else. And how many seasons did we make it through? 5? 5 seasons. We made it through one episode. We stopped watching it. There was one episode where he's trying to save somebody from a speeding train. So he's got the little escape hatch in the top of the train. And they end up like climbing on him, and it was a second person. So it's him, it's Arrow with 2 other people. And he shoots an arrow into, I think, nothing, into the sky. And the arrow turned into a parachute and pulls all 3 of them out of the train. I'm like, time out, done, no more. You know? No more. And I've actually told my daughter, I said, you want to come back and pick up where we left off? She's like, no. 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 And those characters were just terrible. It wasn't the acting was as bad as the writing and the assembly of everything was so bad. Refuse to see the new Batman. Cannot stand Pattinson. I think he's the worst choice for Batman. He's even worse than. Is he worse than? I haven't seen any clips. Is he worse than Clooney? Is he worse than Clooney? That's the question. Because Ben's not that bad. He's not that bad. The problem is he has no charisma, which I guess really isn't necessary for that character. But he's kind of a big guy. I mean, he's kind of imposing, you know. But I don't really care for Ben, but he's not that bad. But Clooney was terrible because Clooney can only do Clooney. TV show Vikings was pretty good. I got into it late. I stopped watching it. My favorite episode. Yes, he's worse than Clooney. That's terrible. That's terrible. You'd rather watch a comic book with gadgets over superpowers. I agree with you. Yeah. The best episode of Vikings that I've seen, and I made it to the Siege of Paris and like maybe one episode or something like that. Rollo ends up marrying the French princess or something like that, which was, if I remember correctly, was kind of cute. But anyhow, that's about as far as I went. I lost interest, you know, got something else to do. I don't know. But my favorite episode is the episode where this English king goes and the Vikings are coming, so he splits his army in 2 parts, and the Vikings come in and they just attack one of them. So they overwhelm one of the forces, and he's just sitting there going like, they didn't split their forces. And I'm like, you're a freaking moron, you know? I was watching that with Mitch. I'm like, you wouldn't make a very good DBA player or a war game player anybody at all. Oh, we split our forces, so they have to as well. Who the hell made you king? Pattinson is just a whiny emo dude, much in the same way as Timothy Chalamet, who I can't stand either. I'm not sure who the heck that is. I didn't mind Deadpool, but Deadpool's not a superhero movie. It's a comedy. If you guys had the same sense of humor that Mitch and I do, which you may not, I saw this movie one time and I thought it was superb. But you have to see it with the right person. And I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, I got to show this movie to Mitch. And he loved it. And it is a movie that got, I think, extremely poor reviews. But I thought it was brilliant. Well, not brilliant. I thought it was really unique. And it's a movie called Hardcore Henry. And it's basically all filmed from a first person, like a first person shooter. It's freaking hilarious. You gotta see it with the right person, though. If you see it with the wrong person, you may not think it's funny, but I don't know how to do one of those live viewings, but that would be fun to do a live viewing of a thing with us, Mitch and I talking in the background. But I think it's hilarious because if you've played enough first-person shooters like I have, I don't anymore, but I certainly have, and you get to see stuff come to life on camera, and there's definitely some Deadpool type humor in it. It's really, really funny. If DBH taught me something, never split your force. He played Paul in the new Dune. There's a few other movies. He's just overall an emo putz. I thought there weren't emo people anymore. I thought the emo was the early 2000s. With the, what's it called? Guyliner. All right, we can go ahead and do the horse's armor as well. And somebody was like, you didn't paint the armor like metal. I'm not convinced it is. It looks like scale to me, honestly. If you wanted me to paint this like chainmail or something like that, then the sculptor did not need to make it look like this, because this is not what chainmail looks like. And during this period, Byzantine horse weren't known for being super armored. That's the cataphracts of earlier times. Maybe 100 years before this, 150 years before this. Yeah, you had some elite cataphracts, but they're gone by this time. Probably expensive as shit to keep those guys around. All right, SS Camo Black Time. I believe that's here. Yeah, so I'm just keeping it moving. I haven't decided. I'm gonna probably spend about 30 minutes or something trying to figure out exactly how I'm gonna want these guys to look, and doing that initially is just gonna bog everything down. Where it's not gonna make a difference what color I'm gonna paint his horse armor, because I'm not gonna budge on that. So, SS Camo Black's already here. Ever see the movie Red with Bruce Willis? I have not. The brooding twits who are as entertaining as a wet fart. Yeah, I don't like lead characters that have negative charisma. I don't care for them. So, which is why I hated Jon Snow. Jon Snow didn't have the charisma to lead somebody to a outhouse. I didn't think so. I wouldn't follow him anywhere. I forgot I read this, but during the Crusades, the knights who went on crusade made sure to take care of the horses better than themselves because of how valuable their horses were. You might have to eat them later, too. Happened. Red. Comedy, action, romance. I don't know. My wife is terrible to take to the movies, but that's okay. She can't be good at everything. I'm not a big movie person anyways. Bruce Willis is another one of those guys that only does Bruce Willis. So Bruce Willis-esque is the correct task for the job, then that works. Wouldn't follow anyone in Game of Thrones. You never know when they'll die, and you take you with you because Martin thinks it's funny to kill characters like the plague. I wouldn't read the books. There's too many historical stuff to be reading fantasy. All right. this is probably too small a brush for this, which means its detail is wasted on something that doesn't need to be that precise. Don't wear your brush out on something it doesn't need to be worn out on. Save it for something a little bit more important. It'd be like, getting SEAL Team 6 to dig ditches, They got better things to do. I tried reading the first novel back in the early 2000s. Got 50 pages in and said, "This is utter trash," and almost threw it out. I should take it down to the library and donate it. Yeah. There's not a whole lot of point in me reading fantasy. Some historical stuff is okay, like historical fiction, but fiction, nah. There's just too many cool things that really happen to better learn about that. Like even something like Lord of the Rings, which seems like everybody's read Lord of the Rings. No interest. Although I did read the two Jurassic Park books. So I have read some fantasy. Mainly out of curiosity to see how they've differed from the movies. Oh, I just fucked up. It's not a big one, but I did the horse's ears the same color as the armor. We'll just repaint them anyways. There's only one coat anyways. All right, let's go over this. I make mistakes and will continue to make them, unfortunately. Great condition. Some kid will see it. I'll give it a good read. Fast. The first book I read cover to cover was The Hobbit. Big fan of Tolkien and Robert Jordan's works. Lord of the Rings and Wheel of Time are great works. Crap, I got hiccups. If Crichton wrote it, it's worth reading. I didn't read it. Okay, I did it on Audible, so it was read to me. And it's the first thing that I have watched the movie and read the book. Because all the time, my entire life, don't watch the movie, the book's much better. Don't watch the movie, the book's much better. And I can't relate because they're not going to make movies out of the books that I read, okay? They're just way too particular about warfare to make a movie about them, okay? So can't compare. So this is the first time I can compare a movie and a book together. And I would say that the movies are better than the book because the books focus even more on raptors. And I don't give it. As a dinosaur fan, I would have been perfectly happy if they had never discovered raptors. Because to me, dinosaurs are small Godzillas. They go in and they trash things, and that's what you want to see. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see tiny little raptor things. That's not interested in that. And the movies focus a little more on the raptors because they are kind of a big. They are kind of a thing in the movies as well, but anyhow, I thought they were okay. I haven't seen the second movie in a long time, but the first movie and the book, I was surprised how many things were similar. And I mean, obviously there was differences, but there was a lot of similarities. And it was my first experience to see people take a book and make a movie out of it because I've never seen it before. Because They're not going to make a movie out of the things that I read, you know? So, okay, Rick, take it easy. How about Stephen King? He writes a good story. So, Stephen King, I tried reading a couple of his things, and he like introduces characters, and then he like picks on them. I don't like horror. I think it puts ideas in your head that screw with you. Now, in high school, I did read some Clive Barker. There was these short stories called Books of Blood. I don't remember anything about them, but I read a couple of those. But I don't really care for horror. It puts ideas in your head that are just horseshit, and then you can't, walk through your own house alone because you might see something in the mirror behind you. I don't go there. I don't go there. I have no problem, reading, horrible things, but supernatural crap. Yeah, I'm not going to read stuff like that. And he's a weirdo. I mean, he's a really, really weirdo. So I don't mind not watching this. I finally saw The Shining within the last 3 years. I'd never seen it. Maybe it was the last 4 years. And always heard about it. Never watched it. I didn't avoid it. It was just, it wasn't available. And I'm like, let's just sit down and watch this thing. And after watching it, I'm like, really? This is what everybody is raving about? It's kind of like a non-event. It's kind of a non-event that ends in a way it shouldn't have ended. What's my favorite dinosaur? Well, we got to break them down into categories, right? Because they're not all created equally. You can't throw the plant eaters and the meat eaters in the same category. So my favorite plant eater is Ankylosaurus, the turtle. He's awesome, but I have lots. I think they're cool. I mean, I grew up with them. And then there was a book that I had growing up, and I found out what it was. I don't remember what the hell it's called anymore. I did a post on Facebook a couple of years ago where I finally found what it was. But there was one particular artwork of one particular dinosaur that how it was painted made me really, really like it. And it was an Allosaurus. And it was an Allosaurus that was reddish with bluish type stripes. And it wasn't really outlandish. And I really liked that dinosaur because of that one artwork. So I'm a big fan of the Ankylosaurus and the Allosaurus. Your favorite is Allosaurus, which is also Utah state fossil. Yeah, I liked it too. Although I'm glad they're not alive because we should kill all of them if they were. But I don't like movies that almost celebrate the end of the human race. I think they're sick and fucking twisted, to be honest with you. Just like I don't like horror movies that just like they murder pretty girls because they're pretty and the director couldn't get laid when he was 18 years old. I think that's the thing behind it. It's like, why would you do some sickening, gory thing to somebody who doesn't deserve it? So I like revenge movies. Don't get me wrong. I totally support violence in revenge movies. But that's because they got it coming. But people that don't have anything going for them, or like trying to eliminate the human race, or I don't like them. They don't turn the sick to my stomach, but I don't like them. I don't like movies like I don't like movies with aliens. You like Triceratops, T-Rex, and Plesiosaurus. Yeah. I don't know that I have that Mosasaurus is freaking awesome. Although they make it in the movie like, 3 times bigger than it's supposed to be. But I'm not a fan of that. What's that? Megalodon. It's just a bigger freaking shark that looks the same as the shit we have now. That's a cop-out. T-Rex. Yeah. Classic. Triceratops and T-Rex. Classic. I always wanted to play a dinosaur game. And if you ever played Pig Wars, something like that, like, you get handed a card and you've got Triceratops, Mama, and Baby, and you got to get them all the way to the watering hole. Or, you've got a herd of whatever, and then you end up having like, two, and they don't have to be specific. It could be like Jurassic Park where they just bring them all back and you've got stuff from Triassic is there and Cretaceous dinosaurs are all there. You can have them all, but I think it would be neat to have like little missions like, okay, these guys have to avoid combat and these guys have to, but if they get closer to the other ones, even though they're herbivores, they'll have like a standoff and it'd just be fun to roll dice and, move them around, I don't like Megalodon. Megalodon's stupid. It looks just a great white. Like, make them look different. And I like sharks. In particular, tiger sharks. Tiger sharks look freaking awesome. Jurassic movies are dino fantasy because they entirely ignore American hunters. What do you mean? You mean American hunters would just be down there and take them all out? I remember one movie when I was a kid. We're going way back now. And I, when I was a kid in the late 70s, we didn't have dinosaur movies, right? You wanted to see dinosaurs. You basically had to deal with an iguana, like Journey to the Center of the Earth, some shitty ass iguana with a rubber, sail on his back, or, that abortion called Land of the Lost. That's it, or a Godzilla movie. That's all we had. So I'm on TV and I see this movie come on, and I never could remember what the name of the movie is, but I know what it is now. But there's things about it, when you're a kid, you remember certain things about a movie that are unique. And what was unique about this movie is they had this drilling machine where they went into, I guess, the center of the earth and drilled it or whatever. And I forget exactly what the plot was, but there was one guy who wanted to hunt dinosaurs down there. And I found out what it's called. The movie's called The Last Dinosaur. And I've seen clips for it, and it's an abortion for the eyes, okay? But, I'm 8, 9 years old. That's all we have to go on, I'm into dinosaurs, and I like watching Battle of the Planets. That's all I got going on for me. I'm not into the World War II stuff yet, okay? This is the 70s. I hadn't discovered that yet. But it's called The Last Dinosaur, and some guy goes down in this drilling machine, and he's like, I want to go and get and kill the Tyrannosaurus or whatever it is that he wanted to. And something happened in the movie where it was like, sorry, spoiler, the movie's freaking 40 years old or 50 years. It can't be 50 years old, but the movie's 40 years old. Spoiler. 43 years old, whatever. And it was like time for them to go. They couldn't get this machine to back up or whatever. And he's like, fine, I'm just going to stay here. Because that was his purpose in life, was he wanted to, he got his jollies off of killing predators. That's it. Spoiler alert. Maston Thrust was the guy's name. What, in that movie? Hunters would make the dinos extinct again faster than the movie series existed and pay for the privilege. I'm not trying to be negative about it. I think it's a benefit. I agree also. I can just imagine if dinosaurs were around now, there'd be all these freaking tree-hugging hippies. It'd be like, oh, they're just misunderstood, and they would just get eaten by them, Yuck, The Last Dinosaur was a suckingly bad movie. It is. But I'm like 9 years old, I'm like, it's a freaking dinosaur, What do we got to go with? I live in Florida. Actually, at that point, I lived in Alabama. We had no fossils. You couldn't go to a museum in Utah and see a freaking Allosaurus or something like that, Maston Thrust sounds like an adult film star's name. Yeah, he does. It's a co-production between Toho, the people who make Godzilla, and an American film company. Yeah. Hunters don't make animals extinct these days. The hunter in The Last Dino is named Maston Thrust. I remember that as a kid. It was on TV. What it came out like in 78, 79, 77, 78, 79, one of those years. That's why people don't believe me, and my brother is 8 years younger than me, refuses to watch anything Star Wars, okay? Because he didn't watch as a kid. I don't know how the hell he avoided it, but he didn't watch it as a kid, so he didn't grow up with it. And he doesn't believe me when I'm telling you. When the first Star Wars came out, you may not like it. You might think it's hokey, but every other movie during that time period was absolutely complete diarrhea garbage, okay? It's just absolutely horrendously bad, you know? Maybe it was all those drugs everybody was doing, or maybe it was the bell bottoms, or maybe it was the mustaches, or all of those things. But stuff from the late 70s was horrible. I remember the late 70s, and luckily I don't remember all that stuff. But absolutely bad. And the first Aliens came out, what, in 78, 79? It's spectacular for everything that was around back then. You know, you're such a movie nerd. I'm a big Ray Harryhausen fan. Loved his dinosaur models. Yeah. You know, and at the days, somebody's got a toy. We'll call it a toy, a puppet, whatever it is, a full size, you know, we're modelers, right? Sitting on a shelf sometime that somebody brought that booger to life. Pretty freaking cool, you know? Yeah. Dinosaurs are freaking cool, man. So, I actually have a set of rules for dinosaur battles. I was going to create my own, and then somebody actually made them, but you know, if I'm doing that, I'm not doing this, and I know I'm going to do stuff here, and Mitch isn't super, I bet I could get him into it, but, you know, it's kind of like when we play, what's the card game? Gaslands. Gaslands is a great freaking game, but if you're doing that, you're not doing this. And Gaslands does have a lot of gotcha moments, but I think this is better, you know. I think this is better. I'd like to see a dinosaur come and make some really good dinosaur kits. They make them in miniatures. For some reason, they did 15 mil. I'm doing 15 mil, but I don't think 15 mil dinosaurs is the way to go. I'd do them in 20s, because then you could put vehicles, you could put humans in there, you can have, you know, a Nazi experiment that went bad, and you've got, you know, you got to take the thing down. You could go in all kinds of different directions, you know. Nazis are great in shit, okay? They work really, really well. You know, Russians are not there, especially if they're in a Stranger Things thing. Those are like the shittiest Russians ever. Coruscant just came out with them, Hoffman, and Chariot, also known as Magister Militum, already had some out. Yeah, so what I have is the set of rules that I got, and they're actually really, I don't know if they're worth a damn, but they certainly look nice. Somebody created them, and they're available online, and they actually did something really cool with them. It's called Cretaceous, and it's printable. I don't know, it's $10 or something like that. It's really, I don't know if it's worth a damn, but there's definitely lots of, you have character sheets for them, and they can do different things. And what's really cool about them, they give you scenarios and stuff like that. What's really cool about them is there's actually a set of dinos that you could print out in full color and use them as counters. Now, these are printed for 15 millimeter scale, supposedly. So we got some 15 millimeter figures here. So you can see what a Argentinosaurus looks like. And honestly, the artwork looks pretty damn good to use as it is. But it doesn't have all of it. There's like no Allosauruses in there, so it's no good. Edmontosaurus. You know, so I just put these on cardstock. At some point, I was like, let me mess around with these. But I want to play them in the big, you know, in the big scale. What else we got? Saltosaurus. That's the one that always cusses. What else do we got here? We got a T-Rex. I think they got a T-Rex. Oh, here's a T-Rex, a smaller. See, these are the made up. These are the dinosaurs that didn't exist when I was a kid. Charodontosaurus. Like, really? That wasn't around. That wasn't in any of my dinosaur books. Yeah, and then here's a Triceratops. I guess Triceratopses are smaller than I thought they were. Anyhow, so they give you little counters, and there's some counters for actions, and you can roar and do different things. You know, I haven't played it yet. I've looked at the rules, and I just haven't wanted to play it bad enough. So, anyhow, but it looks good. It looks like, you know, something basic, and then you can. One thing that makes a game really good is the mechanics. And one mechanic that I like is randomizing who's going to come next. If it's really predictable, like we played Hero Quest a few years back. Hero Quest, is that what it's called? No. Hero Clicks, sorry. And the thing that sucked about Hero Clicks wasn't that it was collectible, because you can just buy the figures you want, right? And then play scenarios, and, you know, like I had like the Fantastic Four, and, you know. But the problem about the rules isn't the rules that are bad, it's just the timing of them. It's like really predictable. Like, okay, you guys take one turn and then you take another turn. It's too predictable who's going to do their next action. So if you add something in there where like you don't know who's going to go next, it adds a big amount of interest as far as I'm concerned. So even if those rules suck, you just randomize who goes next, you know. And there are some absolutely gorgeous dinosaurs. So the problem I had was, so I figured, okay, I'm going to do a dinosaur game. Let me paint some plastic ones. I wanted to do this, and they're really inexpensive. You know, they're just toys that you paint up, and they paint up pretty good because they're decent models. So here's a Steggy that I painted up, and he's going to look more washed out than it really is. And all this is a $3 or whatever toy. And then I go down the rabbit hole, like looking on eBay, who makes them. They just kind of have to be in scale with each other. They don't have to be perfect. I mean, you can't have a T-Rex that's smaller than this one, for instance, unless it's a juvenile. But, you know, this took me a few hours to paint, and I think it's on one of my videos. And they paint up really well. I mean, this thing's got like striping and stuff like that. But I'm like, I don't need more things to paint. If I paint this, I'm not doing these guys. And we're definitely going to use these guys in games. So I painted one Stegosaurus and called it a day. Painted the eye and everything. Anyhow, not bad for a toy. They're decent castings, you know. Guy paints the resin kits, so his videos are good to see who's selling. I would love to. There's some beautiful dinosaur stuff out there. But wise man once said, I can't be into everything. Nordic, have you seen my World War II stuff that I did? I took these ugly ass resin kits, and we painted them up to modern standards. And based them. And they're magnetized too. So, if I ever do anything with them, you can't be in everything. You can't. So, these actually turned out really well. I was happy with them. And it was just fun distraction, do something else. Royalties, damn it! Go get your lawyers on retainer. So, anyhow. That's all the World War II talk we're going to do. So. I'm definitely a devout 20mm World War II guy. I'm not falling for that 15mm trap. Because you can buy civilian vehicles and all kinds of stuff. And I got too much 20mm stuff anyways. So, and the nice thing about the 20mm is if you use 1 meter equals a centimeter, it's really close to actual scale of the figures. So if you build a game around that, measure the centimeters. That's how many meters away they are. It's pretty close to the figure scale. Works nicely. Rick is hiding again. He might be. How many supposed watchers do we have? We'll have to add one for Kevin. Kevin doesn't show up on here. I guess Arizona is not inclusive. So 3 plus Kevin. So supposedly we're going to have a DBA video tomorrow. Well, it won't be out tomorrow. It'll be filmed tomorrow. Supposedly. I say supposedly because you never know what could happen, unfortunately. If I tell you I'm going to do A and A doesn't happen, you better believe I'm pissed about it. Because I don't like changes. Because I plan for them and, it's just life, What is it I came up with the other day? I said that I hate irony and coincidences more than communists. Because I don't have to deal with communists every day, but irony and coincidences every freaking day, So I do not like changes when they happen. So if I tell you I'm going to do A and I end up doing B, it wasn't my plan. That's not how I like to roll. But anyhow, we're supposed to have a video film tomorrow night. We're going to have somebody who's never been on film before. They used to be an experienced DBA player. We'll see. I actually have a losing record against them. I need to play them twice more, win both of them, and I think we're even up then. Then they can quit playing DBA. But I've had some great games against them, and probably even played them about 50 times before, which actually is not very many now, but he should be by tomorrow, passing through. Yeah, we made it Tuesday on purpose. Well, we're playing tomorrow because he can't come through today. So we moved game night to Tuesday. That's why. Yeah, I would prefer DBA night to be Saturday personally, but, some people have to work on the weekends, and it's not me. All right, so we have this guy who's an Elaine Tulare guy, and he's on an armored horse. And what other Elaine Tulare guys? Here, that guy's a mid-brown. That guy's also, little middish. That one's gray. And then the new guy is that one. Let's put him in a... Well, I know the general's going to be white. Oh, I know what we're going to do. We're doing beige brown with this one. As I saw beige brown this morning, I'm like, let's use that for the horse. The only person I didn't like in the DBA videos was the guy with a metal dice cup. Probably a cool guy, but the dice cup is too loud on camera. Who is that? Who is that? I know Marty used a pill container, and it's loud as shit. Oh, and by the way, we're not going to be able to use a dice cup with the tower, with the Jenga tower. And we're not doing the Jenga tower tomorrow. The Jenga tower is a special mission, supposedly on Friday. We'll see how that works out. Only Mitch and I, and we're probably going to do matchups that are that we've done before, but are kind of predictable. So we're going to throw that. So we're probably going to do something along the lines of like Carthage versus Rome, or Impy Romans and German barbarians, or something like that. You have a loud dice cup. It's just a cheap plastic cup from Walmart. Put the dice in there, roll, and next dice encounter games. Yeah, so we're probably just going to roll on the table, or in Mitch's case, on the floor. And we haven't decided what's going to happen when Mitch knocks the thing down. We'll have to just figure it out. Maybe your system won't work because of that in the long term. I think it's got potential. And I've got a brand new Jenga set specifically for that. So we will see. I invested, I don't know, whatever the hell it cost. It was more expensive on Amazon, but I didn't burn any fuel getting it. So it wasn't more expensive. going down to Target and fighting people for it. I just don't like going. I'll go to the grocery store. I just don't like going to any other store. This is a pain in the ass. There's too many people. They don't have stuff. You'll go in and merchandise is missing. I hate that. I hate going to a store and seeing missing merchandise. It's depressing. But mainly it's the missing, wasted trips. Go there and they don't, oh, we just sold out of the last one. Oh, yeah, inventory says we have 3, and you get there and they don't have any. Oh, inventory must be wrong. Inventory's wrong everywhere, If Mitch knocks over the tower, he loses automatic. I bet if he knocks it down, I bet he's going to knock it down. I'll laugh about it. Oh, whatever happened to floor dice don't count. They never do. Absolutely not. No. Hoplite warfare was what I had in mind when doing the Jenga rules. Okay, we're doing hoplites. You got it. Monday evening Byzantines, baby. That's right. Hey, I'm getting close to doing your favorite dude, man. Actually, he's going to look pretty cool. Heraclius the Hornblower. He's coming. He's coming. He's going to be awesome. And then you get to make toot toot sounds when he comes on the board. Just like you get to make dog sounds when you're playing with a stand that has a pet dog on it. I need another one of those. So not to toot my own horn, literally, but there's a rumor that I may actually be going to a country that's south of the border for over the holidays. Maybe. It's a possibility. We got kind of a soft invite to maybe do that. And if that's the case, it's more than likely I'm going to find myself building the conquistadors, which I already have all the Spanish for. And they will have a little dog on the stand. I probably should make a war dog stand too, which is available in other rule sets it's kind of a war band, because then you get to make, snarly noises and shit like that, That's the whole point I'm here for, is to make noises. Yes, the hornblower himself, Heraclius the Hornblower. The blower of the horn is Rick's official title now. If that command post is anything like the Pope, it's going to be epic. There was one game with the Pope. It was unbelievable. I was playing it, and this is the reason why you have to film everything. The last convention I went to, I brought the Pope. And he was hosed. He was put in a situation against Don that was unbelievable that he couldn't get out of. And then I just started saying, God wills it. And 3 times in a row, I rolled a 6, and Don rolled a 1, and I ended up winning the game. And it was unbelievable. Randy was watching it, and he just couldn't believe what was happening. I was like, this is why I film everything, because it's just epic. And that was unbelievable. That was unbelievable. The hornblower is for the command post. Yes. Yes, already has a hornblower on it, so it should be an epic stand of blowing. So, on my list, and I have this army because Mitch actually won it in a tournament, and he says, here, you can have it. Just paint the camp for me. It came with a Baweda Roman fortified camp. And I painted it for him, and he likes it. And actually, I don't paint things for people by them asking me normally. I'm like, I feel like painting that. And then the cool thing is I've painted 3 or 4 things for people. And the really neat thing about the things that I've painted for people, they understand it's limited edition, and they're really careful with it, which is really the nice thing they can do. It's like, take care of the handiwork that, that I do, because it does take some time on there. But anyways, so I digress. So the army that he gave me is the Thebans, and the Thebans have their command stand really should be the Sacred Band. And if you don't know who the Sacred Band is, I want to say 300 folks or something like that. And they fought together. They were all male couples. And just the conversations that I need to build them just for the, they can bicker and stuff in the battle. Like, you left something on the stove or whatever. No, I didn't. You need to pick up your clothes. Just the conversations from that, just of couples, fighting in a unit. Doesn't matter that it's two dudes. Doesn't matter. Just the fact that it's just couples bickering about it is just the jokes are just gonna write themselves. And those guys were badass. I mean, they were the only people that stopped them was Alexander. They basically crushed the Spartans. So, they might have been couples, but those guys were they knew how to fight. Alexander stopped them because he had longer sticks, so they could poke into him before they were able to reach him. But yeah, just the jokes that they were going to be able to come up with, you need to go make a sandwich, all that kind of stuff, just hilarious. It's going to write themselves. Sacred Band consisted of 150. Okay, so it's 300 total. Okay. Yeah, so one stand. And Epaminondas, who I think, I was trying to read up on him the other day, just to find out what made this guy tick. I don't think he was married. So he was kind of the exception. He was just kind of the free floater. He was the swinger in the whole army. So, anywho. Looking forward to doing them at some point. And I found out something Mitch is scared of. Because Mitch did not want we did some battles with the Thebans. He did not want to engage. He did not want to engage those deep spear stands. He was scared of them because their numbers were too high. We got you now. But I like spear-heavy armies. I like Athenians. There's no point in me finishing my Athenians because I've got 5 figures in, and then Mitch showed up and he has every hoplite army known to man, and then Randy also has Athenians. So I'm like, if I'm going to build another hoplite army, I'll do Thebans. They'd be cool. They're almost the same kind of makeup as the Athenians. 8 spear. Greeks didn't have a concept of sexuality like we do. Yeah. I just want to make fun of them because they're couples. What's a super clue for your... You don't know how to make a sandwich. Funny stuff. Funny stuff. But I like hoplite armies. That's kind of my thing. I'm a big heavy infantry guy. I don't want just all heavy infantry. I'm just saying that, I'm a big fan of the anvil. I'd rather have too much anvil than too much hammer. But they'll look cool. And those guys were badass. So. Epaminondas. Yeah, I don't think he was married. I think he was just kind of free floating, if I remember correctly. What the Greeks really didn't have a concept compared to ours is about nudity. And I don't think nudity is that big of a deal, but I'm not going into battle naked. I'm sorry. I'm not that kind of Gaul. And Like I was reading something recently who talked about why the Hebrews had so much of a problem with the one of the reasons that they had a problem with the Seleucids is Seleucids had the whole gymnasium thing and they exercise naked. I'm like, yeah, that's too much, man. It's one thing if you're like hanging out at the beach or, oh, you caught me with my pants down, but doing calisthenics with that thing flopping around all over the place, that's just that's not a good idea, man. You could end up pulling something or sitting on something. You need more anvil, yeah. Yeah, the hardbacks are all about the hammer. They're all about the cavalry with nothing that's steady. Yeah, so that's one of the things I was reading is why the Maccabee revolt. That was one of the things. Like, oh, they wanted to do all this naked stuff, and it was kind of like, we're not really cool with that. So, like mowing the lawn naked, like that's no. Western Way of War is really good. Is a really good hoplite warfare book. Hoplite. Yep. Well, thanks for coming by, folks. Not that I'm signing off. I'm just saying that's the whole point in getting on here is I found myself trying to paint the other day without being online. And what happens is I end up going from YouTube video to YouTube video to YouTube video to YouTube video. And the next thing I know, an hour's gone by and I've gotten nothing painted. And that's not how I'm going to get these guys finished and working on the next thing. That's not the way forward. So, I guess some of you guys enjoy this as well. Hey, it's like talk radio without all the politics bullshit. But I think I'm going to get these two stands done. I'm feeling pretty good about it because I've got this week, which isn't gonna. It's not that useful because I got to go to work, unfortunately. But supposedly, and I'm saying supposedly, so I'm covered. I should be a free man. I'm pretty much a free man, anyways. But I will not have any other responsibilities come Friday until the show. So we should do some heavy painting on Saturday and Sunday. And that command post, once I start painting it, I'm going to be really excited to get it done because it's going to look super freaking cool. I got high hopes for it. I got high hopes for that thing. Whew. Uh-oh. Here we go. Yawnification. Oh, that's not going to work. Paying the last of my Lend-Lease Shermans last night. Making my way through the 38 tank lot I primed. It's for the Army, yeah. High Hopes is a good Pink Floyd song. I I don't know that I've heard a Pink Floyd song that I like, but I've never done the slow drugs or the fast drugs. I say that all the time. There's some music I can't appreciate because I can't relate to it, you know? You say Chadwick lives near you? He relocated to Pennsylvania, I think you said. Does he live near you? Do you game with him? That's all we used to do in the '80s. Play his rules. And I have second edition. I haven't played anything after that. I think there's been like two other editions, right? He's got like a Test of Battle and something else, or so I'm not really sure. Second edition was much better than the first one, much better. So I can only imagine they kept getting better. Frank lived near me, but he moved a couple of years out west. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and do the red that is on the striping on this guy's thing. And what we changed on here is we gave him white tufts. So all the tufts these guys are going to have on the command stand is going to be white tufts. Because the flag is primarily white. It is... Actually, I probably should drop it on there now. It is going to look something like... Let's go to Properties. And do a browse. Well, that's messed up. Where the hell did that drawing go? Oh, really? Mother Nature on the rag with the lightning? It's just rained off and on all day long today. Let me go to Properties. Why won't it show? Oh, I got it minimized. I got it hidden. Let's get this down to where it needs to be. More reasonable sized. See that big banner he's holding? It's probably not going to have as many tails. That's just going to be a nightmare for me. But something like that. Maybe not exactly that one like that, but similar to that. So, kind of a shitty looking flag, but that's what they used, you know. Not exactly my first choice, but I could make something cooler, but we'll save something cooler for Belisarius. We'll do the Byzantine flag in that earlier period. Have, you know, Madonna and Child, or, you know, one of those cool religious type of over the top flags. Well, I hope we don't lose power because of the storm. Last time I said that, we lost power. I don't have that kind of power. The first things I ever saw from Old Glory were 15 millimeter World War II packs that had the Command Decision logo on them. So they were geared towards, I guess, making things for Command Decision. But it wasn't until that I saw any World War II stuff in 15 mil. So World War II is not a 15 millimeter scale for me. I mean, it is now. I mean, obviously, it's all kinds of people play it, but back when I started, you know, I didn't. There wasn't anything available for it in any store. There may have been somebody that made it or whatever, but not until I saw the 15 millimeter Command Decision stuff. Probably in the early 90s. Let's say maybe 91, 92, something like that. Back at the same time that GHQ had miniature packs specifically for the ASL game that was the zoomed in one, Streets of Stalingrad or whatever, which I never cared for. I never cared for the bigger hexes. I just didn't like how it looked. You know, there was just too much dead space in the square, in the hex, for me. I think that's what it was called, Streets of Stalingrad. And Hedgerow Hell. Yep. Yeah, I never cared for those. I had good times playing ASL. I would never play it again because I wouldn't be able to handle the structure of the turn. It's just too predictable and not very involved for one of the players. For the non-phasing player, they're just kind of like, hey, why don't you let me know when it's my turn again? Especially now, where people who just surf on their phones. Just, hey, I'll be looking at things on eBay while you're, playing your turn. So. Couple little bronze rivets on there. Man, it's unusual that it's storming at night. Like, it's dark out there because it's almost 9. It's strange. It's strange here in this part of the world to have thunderstorms in the dark. It just doesn't happen. Let me do a quick check on how the radar is looking. I hate checking the weather because there's just so much advertising. So much advertising you don't want to see. Thunderstorms likely to continue through 11 p.m. All right. Yeah, it looks like we got some bad weather coming. We're going to go ahead and shut this one down. And as always, thanks for coming by, and hopefully it was entertaining for some of you. And alas, you two must go. Okay, well, we're all got to leave. Skylab can't be here. We've all got to go. Nah, we got bad weather coming in. You know, how long have we been on here? 2.5 hours almost? Yeah. I call this one a win, so we'll catch you guys maybe, well, not tomorrow night. No, we gotta do DBA, you know. So anyhow, Wednesday then. I think that's the following.